I've opened up the .png bag UV map and the texture that goes with it. I'm going to put in a reference background layer so that I can see the UV map a little bit more clearly. Selecting the new layer icon, I'll go to my swatches, and I'm going to choose some sort of a middle value gray, perhaps 30 or 40%. And I'll fill that layer using the bucket tool, which is G, or I can use a keyboard quick, which is Option or Alt Delete. I'll now put it below the UV map. Now the texture itself is very, very dark, which will make it difficult to line these pieces up with the grid. I'm going to go to the UV map layer and lock the transparency. I'm going to make it white. I can do so by first putting white on the foreground color of my toolbar. The easiest way to do this now would be to hold down the Option or Alt key and hit Delete. Now I can see it against the gray background, and I'll be able to see it against the dark values of the texture. I'm going to go to the Photoshop file provided, and I'll start to copy and paste each of these layers in. Command A, Command C, jumping to the UV map, Command V to paste, and I'll do that with each of these layers. We should have these components in our UV map now. I'm going to save that PNG as a PSD to be our final texture for the bag. Now I can close out the reference PSD. Now it's a matter of scaling and positioning these. Now that I've completed my texture map, I'm going to turn the UVs off, and I'm going to go down to the background layer. Hitting I on the keyboard, I'll select the darkest brown in my texture, and I'll fill that background layer from the gray to that brown, holding Option or Alt Delete. You want to be sure that you've saved once you've made any kind of changes to your Photoshop file so that Maya will read those changes. So now I'll hit Command S, and now we'll return to Maya. Back in Maya, I'll select my bag, right-click and choose Material Attribute. I'll right-click on the word Color in the Base tab to break the connection of the checkerboard. Going out through the Color tab, using the checkerboard, I'll bring up the Create Render node, and I'll click on File. I'll navigate to my folder, and I'll select my texture. And it should look something like this when we're completed. We're going to add one last element to this. It's going to be a bit of a jagged edge across the top of the bag, and we're going to use an alpha channel to do that. We're going to return to Photoshop to create that.